All right, let's talk about something big that's been in the works for a long time. We're talking nearly 2 decades of talks, but India and the European Union have finally signed a massive trade agreement. This thing is set to totally reshape global trade, but what does it actually mean? Let's get into it.
And you don't have to look far to see the hype. I mean, headlines are literally calling it the mother of all deals. When you see the sheer scale of it, you start to get why. It's ambitious, it's huge, and man, it has been a long time coming.
But you know how it is with these massive deals, right? The real story is always a little more complicated than the headline. Is this really a silver bullet for the economy? A brilliant strategic move? Or if there's something, well, more nuanced hiding behind those big numbers? That's exactly what we're going to dig into.
Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this, we have to start with the numbers. And believe me, they paint a pretty powerful picture of just how massive this agreement really is for both India and the EU.
First up, just think about the sheer number of people involved. This deal covers a combined market of almost 2 billion people. I mean, that's wild. We're talking about a fifth of the entire world's population being brought into a single, much closer economic relationship. And what about the money? Well, together, these two economic powerhouses make up about a quarter of the entire world's GDP, a quarter, and a third of all global trade. So yeah, we're talking about two absolute giants of the world economy teaming up.
And here's where you see the immediate cash incentive, just for European businesses, okay? Simply cutting the taxes, the tariffs, on stuff they sell to India, that's projected to save them around 4 billion euros every single year. Now that's a powerful reason to get a deal like this over the finish line. So what's this deal really trying to do? Well, at its heart, it comes down to four main things. First, slashing those tariffs on the vast majority of goods. Second, opening up the markets for services, think IT. Third, giving India's labor-heavy sectors, like textiles, a real leg up. And finally, making it way easier for skilled professionals to move and work across borders. But look, this agreement is about so much more than just the money. When you look at the timing and the global context, you start to see a much deeper geopolitical game being played here. This is a very calculated move on a global chessboard. So you can really look at this deal in two different ways. Is it what you might call bandage sense? You know, a quick fix for an immediate problem, like reacting to tariffs from the US? Or is it chess sense, a carefully thought out, long-term move to secure a stronger position on the world stage for decades to come? All the signs really point to chess. The core strategy here has a fancy name, portfolio rebalancing, but the idea is simple. It's just like investing, right? You don't put all your money in one stock. By building stronger ties with the EU, India is basically diversifying its economic relationships. It's making sure that a sudden policy change in one country can't completely wreck its entire economy. And this right here is the absolute key. This isn't about choosing Europe over America. No, it's about choosing optionality over dependence. In a world where trade rules can literally change with every election, having that kind of strategic freedom, that's the holy grail for a mature global economy. Okay, but a deal this huge is obviously going to have some very real impacts on the ground. And while the big picture looks pretty good, let's be real, the benefits and the costs are not going to be shared equally. This really breaks it down. On one side, you've got the likely winners, your big exporters, the massive IT and pharmaceutical sectors, and of course, consumers who might get cheaper European products. But on the other side, you've got the groups who are at risk. We're talking small manufacturers who might really struggle with new EU standards, some farmers, and domestic industries like automakers who are about to face a ton of new competition. And it's really important to keep our expectations in check here. These tariff cuts, they're being phased in over years, and some of the most sensitive areas like agriculture are still being protected. So the huge economic shifts we're talking about, they're going to be gradual. This isn't an overnight thing. Which brings us to what might be the most critical question in all of this. It's not about whether India can implement the deal. We know it has the technical ability. The real question is whether the government has the political will to manage the fallout and make sure the benefits are actually shared by everyone. So let's break down two ideas that often get tangled up. On one side, you have state capacity, and India has absolutely proven it can pull off enormous, complex projects. The administrative skill is there, no question. But then, on the other side, you have state intent, and this is where the doubt creeps in. based on the government's track record when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable people during these big economic shifts.
If you look at past reforms, a clear pattern starts to emerge. The government tends to be really strong on optics, the big announcements, the positive headlines. But where things can get weak is in providing that crucial safety net, that cushioning for the people who feel the immediate negative impact. The response often feels reactive, coming only after the hardship has already set in.
So where does that leave us? What's the final verdict here? When you put all these pieces together, what does this trade deal really represent?
There's a great way to think about this, which is that trade agreements are amplifiers. They don't magically fix things. They magnify what's already there. They take the existing economic and political priorities of a country and just turn up the volume. And that amplifier idea leads us to two very different possible futures. On one hand, you could have a numerical success. Trade volumes go up, the headlines look great, and the big export-focused companies do really well. But at the same time, you could have a social failure where inequality actually gets worse because all those small businesses and farmers are left struggling without the right kind of support. And in the end, that's the one question that's going to define this deal's legacy. The agreement creates this incredible opportunity, no doubt about it. But will that opportunity be for everyone or just for a select few? That all depends on what happens next. The chess game, well, it's really just getting started.